Coming home was the hardest time in my life.
We want every early return missionary out there to know that you are not alone.
And I began to see that this way home wasn't a blocked off path, but it was another way forward that God designed me that would get me to a new, beautiful destination.
Hello, I'm John Larson.
And I'm Brooklyn Larson.
And we're the team behind Returning Stronger. Returning Stronger was founded to support early return missionaries who are returning from service and struggling with their transition back home. We went through as a family a personal experience of having Brooklyn have to return early from her mission. And through that process, we really realized that there are so many other people out there who are also struggling in the same way that we did. A little bit about me, my background is I've been a clinician and mental health professional for over 25 years. I've worked with adolescents, young adults, and families, working through struggles and some of the tough life transitions. Yet, despite all that experience, when we as a family had to go through this experience for ourselves, when Brooklyn had to return from her mission due to some physical and mental health issues that arose while she was out there, I found myself not knowing what to say, what to do to make the situation better, and how to help Brooklyn move forward with her life. Through that experience and navigating the challenge and coming out the other side, we were exposed to so many different people who are also going through that same challenge and not knowing what to do. That's why we wanted to start this process up and give resources to people so that first and foremost, they know when they're going through it that they're not alone. There are so many missionaries worldwide who are having to return for so many different reasons, whether it's health related, whether it's mental health, it could be due to faith crises, or even worthiness issues. Those are all valid reasons that people have, and they need support while they go through that process.
I'd now like to take a minute to tell you my personal story navigating through a mission. Back in 2024, I was submitting my papers for the first time to go and serve a mission. It was something I wanted to do my whole life, and despite my challenges with anxiety and just the nerves that I felt, I was determined that I would not be stopped and that I would keep going regardless of the challenges that came my way. I wanted to serve a mission so badly. When I got my call to serve in the Argentina mission, Rosario mission, I was shocked, to say the least. I hadn't expected that I would go out of the country, much less to a place like Argentina, but I was thrilled and I set out to serve. It was one of the most exciting and yet most challenging times in my life. I made so many new friends and met so many amazing members, but the culture shock, the language learning, the new foods, the new environment, everything was a lot, to say the least. I found myself quickly becoming very overwhelmed by the endeavor of being in a whole new country, surrounded just by so many new people and places and things. I wasn't sure how to handle it all, and sometimes I felt like I was the only one who felt more nervous than excited sometimes. When I began to notice some changes in my health, such as beginning to fall asleep during lessons, hallucinating, and feeling sick a lot of times with the inability to wake up, I started to feel like something was not right. The prospect of my deteriorating health really amplified my anxiety once more. I found myself so stressed and anxious about what I was doing and where I even was on my mission, where I was going. I started to doubt my ability and whether I was even capable of serving a mission. I felt so alone at this time. It was perhaps one of the most lonely times in my life. I continued to pray and press on, but as my health began to deteriorate even further, I began to realize that it was a time I'd have to come home to take care of my physical and mental health. Coming home was the hardest time in my life. I found myself doubting everything I ever knew. This challenge of this thing I wanted for so long was just fading away all of a sudden, and I didn't even know where I was going or what I was meant to do next. And what do you even tell someone who wants to do something like a mission their whole life and then doesn't get to finish it? That's the question I was asking. My father here, as long as my mother, were so helpful in getting me back on my feet and supporting me. But I still felt so alone, and I could sense that they didn't know fully how to help me because this was something that was so unanticipated for us all. What followed was some of the darkest moments of my life of anxiety and depression and loneliness. I felt like I was the only one out of my friends and the only one in the world who was going through this. I felt like a failure before God. I began to doubt if He even wanted me to be on a mission, if I had made the wrong choice, if I had failed in going home early. But as I began to take care of my health, both physically and mentally, getting some of the areas of expertise that I needed to help me recover, and most importantly, by beginning a service mission, I slowly began to see bits of God's life come back into my life. Through service in the temple, through going to the temple visitor center, to serving in the bishop's storehouse, making cars for children in Africa. So many opportunities the service mission blessed me with. And I began to see that this way home wasn't a blocked off path, but it was another way forward that God designed me that would get me to a new, beautiful destination. And so here I am, is living proof on the other side that regardless of what you go through, regardless of why you come home, there is joy to be found. And I've come to learn that God's path for us is really the ultimate path forward. We may have something designed for our lives, but God, He is the ultimate creator, the ultimate designer, and He knows where He's taking us and where is going to be best for us. I still don't know all the answers. I still wonder what it would have been like to be in Argentina for longer than 3 months. But I also know the people I met, the experiences I had, I wouldn't have otherwise met or done without the service mission.
The primary reason that we have this service available is we want every early return missionary out there to know that you are not alone. There are other people who have shared your experiences. Oftentimes when we go through things like this, we feel, like Brooklyn mentioned, so alone. Like we're the only person who's ever had to deal with something like this. And it can feel so isolating and depressing. We doubt ourselves. We doubt our faith. We wonder if God is disappointed in us. These feelings and other ones that you have, you're not alone in those. And we want to provide that support so that everybody knows that the support exists and that there is somebody to walk alongside you on that path. You don't have to navigate this alone. We're there to support you. And we also want your stories to be told. On our social media, we're going to be providing opportunities for people to be interviewed and share their stories. What we've found through this process as we're doing this is there's a power in sharing your experience. Brooklyn was very nervous when she started in being so forthcoming and bearing her soul to the world and saying, here are my flaws and here's what I did wrong. But the reality is the reception to that has been overwhelmingly positive, and so many coming forward and saying, I too felt that same way and I share that same experience. So we want you to come forward. We want you to share. And if you know somebody who's struggling or who has been through this, please share this message with them so that they too can come forward and share.
If there's one thing I want anyone to know, it's that regardless of what you face, you aren't alone. There are so many people out there like you who have been home early from a mission, perhaps even stayed on the mission the whole time, but didn't find the kind of joy and fulfillment you had hoped because of physical, mental, spiritual worthiness or otherwise. You aren't alone. There are other people out there just like you. And regardless, you are not a failure. Your mission is your story, and it is God's intention for you to be where you are now. You have not failed him. You have not failed any of your friends or family. If nothing else, remember how much God loves you. He's in the details. He will guide you towards a happier ending. Thank you.
Thank you.